Hey, Coach, ready to get started?
Yes, I'm ready, Kaylee.
Okay, great.
Morning, Sean. John Worrell.
Morning, John.
Why not? All seasons have their challenges, but I mean, if you had hair, would it be maybe a little bit more grayer this year, given the ups and downs you've had, this team's had and endured this year?
Yeah, you said why not? Why not ask the were you deliberating on whether to ask the question or not? Would I have more gray hair? Probably. But I think that shows wisdom though too, right? At the end of the day. So I think you learn a lot going through seasons like this, and every season is hard, and that's life in the NFL. Some are harder than others, and that's what makes it, I guess, more enjoyable on the other end when you can work your way through it and have a successful season like we've been able to do.
Because things seemed, I mean, they weren't, but they seemed easier last year.
Yeah, I think on the surface, and when time moves on, you forget all the little things, all the challenges that you did have, even in a year like last season. And I think that's the funny nature of seasons and the journey is the further away from those moments you get, sometimes you forget that you did have some of those challenges and whatnot. So yeah.
And just the last thing for me, and just to envision turning around a franchise as you did when you arrived here in 27 is one thing. To actually have it come to fruition to a certain degree in which you've made the playoffs on a consistent basis and have built a sustainable team. I mean, what's that say about what's gone on there at One Bills Drive, and to be on the cusp of winning a second consecutive division title?
Well, there's a lot of hard work that's gone into that. Not just this season, but over the course of the 4 or 5 years that we've been here, and it's been a real team effort. And I just think that we have an opportunity this weekend against a good football team in the Jets that are playing really well to take another step as an organization, and that's where our focus needs to be this week.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Good morning, Sean. Mark Gahn here. So obviously the Jets or Tampa needed, another Tom Brady magic act Sunday to beat the Jets. What does that say to you, or should it say to you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing good football. That's what it should say. We talked about it this morning, in fact, Mark, and the last 3 games they've led at halftime, and then taking the defending world champs to the brink last week. So we've got to be ready to go and continue to improve on our end.
And then different subject, your top 5 in the league in kick coverage and punt coverage again this year. Just what do you think has gone right, particularly on kickoff coverage? Yeah, I mean, it's it's really living one kick at a time, right? That's the life we live in the special teams world, and our coaches and players know it, and they talk about it a lot in terms of how critical it is, and field position, and how it equates to winning games, or helping you win games. So we're very proud of what those guys have done, and I appreciate how hungry they approach every week. They give us great energy and juice early in the game in particular. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Sean. Talking to Mitch Morse last week, he said that the only consistency on the offensive line has been inconsistency, and I think that pretty much kind of sums up what you guys have dealt with on the line this year. But with Mitch specifically, He's kind of been that constant for you. Just what have you seen from him this season and what he's been able to do for that group?
Yeah, I think he's really grown this year and really proud. I'm super proud of him for it, Heather. And he's playing his best football, and I love the way he's leading during the week and then on the field on game days as well. So he's done a great job for us.
And then just big picture, after the game, Jordan Poyer said that, you know, some of these guys, these younger guys haven't experienced what it's like to not make the playoffs. And for him, obviously, before he came here, you know, he hadn't made the postseason. I guess kind of just big picture, have you talked to your team about, you know, do guys like understand just how, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say, like just how much of an accomplishment it is to make the postseason, and as you mentioned before, the opportunity that you do have in front of you this week?
Yeah, that's a great topic, great point, Heather, because you know, as you get further and further out from 2017, in the 2016-2017 transition, not a lot of the players that are with us now, especially these younger players, years 1 through 3 in particular, know what they think it's the same every year, and this just happens. So the critical piece of that for us going forward is that we make sure those guys don't take it for granted. We make sure those guys know, because they'll eventually become the leaders that then educate and influence the younger guys that come in as we go down the road here. So yeah, I mean, I coach with a coach in Philadelphia, an older coach, in fact, when I was younger on the staff, and you know, we were going through a similar run, and he had never made the playoffs in his 20 plus years as a coach in the NFL. And as a young guy, for me now trading places, that I was just struck by that. Right. And yeah, it's not like this everywhere, and we're extremely blessed, and we got to keep it going.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Morning, Sean.
Morning.
I got a thing on Greg Rousseau for you. I know the time for evaluation will come later, but can you maybe just share a couple thoughts on what you've seen from him this year? It seemed like he had a long period where, you know, we weren't noticing him a lot. Obviously, last week we did. Can you kind of give us some thoughts on him?
Right. You know, I thought he got off to a really good start. He was a young player, obviously, this year for us that showed up early in camp, showed up through preseason, as you know, and in the early part of the season, I would say. And then he just probably went through some teachable and learnable moments through the middle part of the season. And, you know, then there's a thing called the rookie wall, as most of the rookies hit from time to time as they go through the season at different stages of the season, based on sometimes how much you play through the course of the year. And then I think if you keep pushing through it, you're able to come out on the other end of it. And I'm hoping that's where Greg is. He seems to be re-energized and in a good spot, which needs to be true for all of our rookies, because really they're not rookies anymore at this point in the season.
Okay, and if I could ask you too, Sean, just give us a quick update on injuries, and then after that, you know, you guys, believe it or not, have been incredibly lucky with injuries and COVID. You have the least man games lost in the entire league. I know that's partially luck, but can you maybe describe to us how fortunate you feel that you've really avoided, for the most part, injuries and COVID?
Yeah, it's unfortunate we lost the 3 guys we did for the year. Good players, all of them, and Trey and Ike and Zim. But always saying our prayers at night to keep guys healthy and protect the guys that are on the field. And then I think we do overall a good job as an organization. I mean, I've talked about this before, Sal, with the resources that Kim in particular, and then Terry give us in our sports medicine part of our building, and enabling us to serve the players in a healthy way. And the medical staff does a great job with the sports science and strength and conditioning staff. And then in terms of helping me put a schedule together that helps us stay healthy But even with that, sometimes it is pure luck. And you take it where you can get it. And the New England game was the opposite of that. We go to the New England game a few weeks ago and we're missing a number of guys. So it's part of the course of the business.
Yeah, and as far as the injuries, Bates, Sanders, I guess, still?
Yeah. All right. So Sanders, Bates, and F.A. Obata all day today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Sean, Mike Catalana. I want to go back to the Jets, and I was thinking about your 2018 team, end of the year. You had that Dolphins game at the end. Josh has a big game, and think of it as like a springboard to the next season. So while you've been in this playoff mode at the end of years, and I'm not asking you to know exactly what Robert Saleh tells his team, but what is it like in a day? Because there's a tendency to think, oh, this team's got nothing to play for, quote unquote. But like with the Jets, a young team, young quarterback, what is it like, do you believe, in their room heading into a game like this?
I don't know for sure, but in my mind, you're always trying to build. You're always trying to improve on where you were the week before, and so I just think that from our end, I'm going to shift it back to our end again, Mike. It's every team is dangerous in the NFL for the reason and the whys of how this league is shaped and constructed. We saw that with Jacksonville, who on paper, on record, but at the end of the day, they beat us. So records don't matter. We've got to get ourselves ready to go, and I think the Jets are playing good football.
And you said gray hair shows wisdom. How sure are you in that? I'm hoping you're right. Are you pretty sure with that?
I'm certain. That's what experience brings, is wisdom, right?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Sean, it's Jay with the Buffalo News. Hope you're doing well. I asked Brian about this the other day, and I wanted to ask you as well. Mitch Morse has been kind of the constant along the offensive line for you guys with, guys hurt, COVID, whatever, sort of in and out of the lineup. Have you seen him both on the field and then maybe in terms of leadership off the field, even elevate his game from where he was in years past? Not to say that he wasn't at a good level in years past, but have you seen him take a big step forward in terms of leadership this year?
Yeah, I would say that as well. He leads in his way, which I think is the right way to lead. In terms of not being someone he's not, in terms of being phony, he's very authentic, very real, genuine guy, and he leads in that way as well. And I think the guys appreciate that. And Heather asked a similar question earlier. I don't know if you caught it, so it was kind of a same answer there.
Okay, I apologize. I may have signed on just a little bit after that. What is the challenge for Mitch when he is communicating with different guys week in and week out? What's that like?
In terms of the changing of the lineup up front, you mean?
Yeah. In terms of because it's his job, his responsibility to get everybody on the same page, and he's not able to do that week in and week out with the same guys.
Yeah, I think it's every side of the ball has kind of their antenna, if you will, like who makes the calls, who drives some of the kind of the connectivity of the offense in this case the offensive line, and Mitch does that and does it well for us.
Thanks. Starting to be repetitive. Thanks, Sean.
That's all right.
Sean, Josh Reed here. I guess I got some issues then when it comes to the wisdom thing. Maybe I need to sprinkle a little bit of gray in.
I think you're pretty well off there, buddy.
You guys didn't face Zach Wilson the first time around. This time you will face him. What have you seen from him and kind of his development as his rookie season has gone on?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's playing at a high level. He can make every throw. He burns you down the field with the deep balls, and then he can beat you with his legs and feet and extending plays, and sometimes drifting back away from the pocket pressure. So he looks like he's off to a great start. I know he had the injury earlier in the year, but he looks like he's playing really good football.
That's all I got. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Have a good week.
You too.
Hey,
Hey, Sean, I wanted to follow up on what you were saying to Heather about making sure younger guys don't just take this for granted. How do you do that?
Well, it takes communication. We'll probably actually, in fact, ironically, you're asking after practice today, I'm going to circle up with some of those young players and talk about just what was asked earlier from Heather. So yeah, that was planned, and it's ironic that you guys are asking about it. It's important though that, you know, I've just learned over the years, you don't assume anything. You don't assume they know whoever they is and then know what, right? So in this case, it's how hard it is to make the playoffs. There's a lot of players. I mentioned a coach earlier, but there's a lot of players too who go through a whole career and never make the playoffs. I remember being with Taquito Spikes in Philadelphia, who was a longtime Bill, and I'm not sure if he ever ended up making it. And that's, we talk about a guy that did things every day a certain way. What a resilient person he is and was, and same as a player. So that's hard to do though.
Yeah, do you think players can feel that just from hearing those stories, or do they have to go through it to really have it hit home?
Yeah, probably a little bit of raising children, right? That I'm doing right now. My wife and I, and you try and tell them, and I think they shake their head, yes, I got you, but they're really inside going, I'll be different. And to be honest with you, I was different when I heard that years ago too. Like, nah, I'll break the norm, right? I'll be the outlier. But the truth is that it's really hard to do, and sometimes you only really learn when you go through it at the end of the day.
And then who was that coach in Philadelphia that you mentioned before who kind of shared that with you?
Yeah, Tommy Brazier, who was our defensive line coach at the time.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Sure. All right. Thanks, guys.